We are beautifully,
Welcome to the Beautifully Melanated podcast. I'm your host, Sarah, and I'm here with my co-hosts.
Hi, I'm Karen.
Hi, I'm Kay. Welcome to another episode of the Beautifully Melanated podcast, live on Lightning Radio, 90.8 FM and lightningradio.net. So ladies, this week I am doing What in the World, and I couldn't take any more trauma. The week was just full of trauma and stress and things happening onto Black people, and I didn't want to highlight it on the podcast. So I've gone for something lighter, or maybe higher.
Sounds good.
All right. So I'm reading from the Jamaica Gleaner, Saturday the 4th. And this is the news coming out of the island. News that the Cannabis Licensing Authority, the CLA, has permitted a company with majority Jamaican ownership to import 140 kilograms of cannabis, or 308.6 pounds, for research purposes. This news has been met with widespread skepticism by players in the industry, and rightly so. You're importing cannabis into Jamaica. Make it make sense, please. At no point does any of this make sense. And that's a lot for research.
Heck of a lot.
What's really angering the locals who produce marijuana is that we cannot export to Canada. There is no reciprocal agreement. So they can import to us, but we can't export to them our own marijuana.
I wonder what the reason or rationale for that is.
Well, the government and the CLA have been asked to confirm the details of what was imported and for what purposes, and to state the policy going forward. So the response is, it's a Jamaican company. They have to follow the rules, which are in legislation. The ganja strain being imported is not available in Jamaica. The permit is granted depending on the license you have. Some people have license to grow, others to test, and some to retail. So that's all been hailed the Minister of Industry, Commerce and Investment. It could not be ascertained what the strains are and whether they are available in Jamaica, as a promised statement from the CLA with more detail did not arrive in time for press. So there has been angst in the industry since it was revealed that the company, in which some Canadians have a minor interest, has been allowed to import when Jamaicans are not allowed to export in commercial quantities. Only 10 kilograms, which is slightly different to what they can import to us, have been exported to Canada in total, with the strict caveat that it must be for research. So we've sent 10 kilograms or 22 pounds. They've sent 300 and odd pounds back into the island for research, air quotes.
Why Jamaica? Why?
Exactly.
Of all the places to do with that, why Jamaica?
It's like exporting sand to the desert.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
So, but why, of all the places and countries in the world, they could have done it, so like Norway or somewhere.
Yeah.
Why Jamaica? I don't understand, Kay.
And does anyone stand to profit?
Absolutely. I don't know who
Canadians.
yet. Probably the Canadians. But the problem is, according to the business owners on the island, that the exporting and importing, there are issues. At least one Canadian company has pulled out of business in Jamaica as they are unable to export to Canada. And the investment losses were piling up. So they didn't even enter into a reciprocal agreement. So it benefits only one.
It's just one way, isn't it?
One way. Yeah.
And they can't export. This doesn't make any sense. So Jamaicans can't send it to anywhere at all. But that seems, of all places, of all countries. And I'm sure that the stuff grown in Jamaica would,
It's high grade.
let's just say, compared to some Canadian stuff, come on.
Exactly. People travel from all over the world to taste our good stuff. We have the goodie.
So let me ask a question. I don't know if anyone knows the answer to this. I've not researched it. But does Jamaica export to any other country their cannabis for I don't know,
medicinal purposes.
Medicinal
You know, in America,
purposes.
because I know when I
Yeah.
went to America, gosh, just before my daughter was born, so that's about 10 years ago, it was the rise of the medicinal cannabis. There
That's
was a
right.
few pop-ups saying, if you can get a prescription or something, then we can give you some medicinal cannabis.
Yes.
So I'm wondering, where's the medicinal cannabis? Is it from America or is it from somewhere like Jamaica coming into America?
Well, according to this article, the United States is the largest producer of ganja.
Oh, okay. Right.
And has been setting up its system export and has adopted a protectionist regime, while Canada has been growing greenhouse ganja.
Right.
There's a lot of anger in the industry. People are not accepting that it's for research. They're like, who is going to buy Canadian weed when we can grow it? And we do grow our own.
I just don't understand. Like, it just makes me laugh, though. Why?
Wouldn't it be, you know, like a lucrative sort of revenue stream for Jamaica? It's something that's produced really easily.
It's like trying to give us potatoes. That's what I feel
In
like.
English,
It's like,
yeah.
it's like, I don't know, someone in Norway saying, look, let's go and give, you know, the British loads of potatoes. They can't have any. I mean, come on. That's one thing we do have in abundance in this place.
Unless they
right.
want
So-
a particular strand or a particular strain that can't be grown
I mean,
locally.
Jamaica,
There is nothing that we can't grow.
that would be true. That's
yeah.
true. I'm just trying to.
Jamaica. It seems crazy.
Yeah, it just seems crazy.
Yeah.
Unless somebody in high up in Jamaica has met someone in Canada and said, yes, bring it in
Yeah.
here. We'll both profit, you and me.
Except it's not reciprocal, so we're not profiting. They are. But this is typical of Jamaican government, though. What they haven't sold off isn't left. They've sold. It's like Jamaica's on loan to the Chinese at the moment. The bauxite and mining industry, we don't own that. That's owned by.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah,
It is.
We
really
don't own
bad, yeah.
anything because our politicians are willing to sell,
sell
everything for a little change.
You carve it all up.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
and
is
only
crazy.
they benefit.
Yeah. I went to Amsterdam recently. It was a friend's birthday, and it was just really interesting. Not that I frequented any of the shops.
Oh, that's a shame.
Really? Didn't you? Come on.
I would have.
Amsterdam, I'd have been
Absolutely.
straight in those coffee shops.
As soon as I landed.
Yes. And I wouldn't be leaving those coffee shops either unless it's to go to bed.
But it was just so interesting, right? So the way they've got these coffee shops set up is that, you can go in as long as you're, over the age, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And it's just so relaxed. Everyone's
It is.
chilled.
Yeah.
No one's off their face or like behaving crazy.
Yeah.
And I just thought, wow, that's amazing. And yet in Jamaica, cannabis is illegal.
Yeah,
I just think that is bizarre.
That is mad.
in fact, there was a time when there was a shortage. When the cannabis was legalized in other places, and then suddenly the government realized we have been sitting on a gold mine. And rather than legalize it, you're prosecuting the
Exactly.
Rastafarians, you're prosecuting
It just
those who
doesn't make
use
sense.
it.
All the
Right.
farmers that cultivate the
Yeah.
stuff. It just seems crazy to me.
Topsy-turvy.
And then they came out with some legislation that allowed you to grow, I think, 9 trees for personal use.
All right.
That's not enough to meet the market demand. That was a problem. We were running out of weed. This is what's in the weed. What? The island that is known for it. There's people come to Jamaica
Yeah.
for high grade good stuff.
They ran out. It's like McDonald's ran out of cheeseburgers. Remember when I was 16, I was working at McDonald's in the holidays from college, and I remember they ran out of cheeseburgers, and people were like, "Oh my god, this is just disgusting! I can't believe this is happening." People are shocked. They're like, "This can't happen. This doesn't happen at McDonald's. I can't believe it's outrage."
Yeah, KFC running out of chicken.
Yeah, that kind of People are like,
How
"No,
that
no."
happened.
It makes news headlines. It makes no local news headlines. So I'm thinking like McDonald's running out of cheeseburgers is to me Jamaica running out of weed.
Yeah.
Absolute
And now
ridiculous.
people can grow it legitimately, and there's an amount you are allowed for personal use where you won't be harassed by the police for it. It's still clearly not meeting the demands. So rather than support your local farmers to mass produce the good stuff, you import.
That's just crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, I just think we're losing out on revenue, again.
Of course. The tourism industry, most of them are not owned by Jamaicans. The hotels, the resorts,
That's true, yes.
what we get is what people spend on the island, but the airlines make massive profits.
Yeah.
The hotels
And
make
do you know,
profits.
I used to love traveling via Air Jamaica.
Me
Loved
too.
it. I used to have
Rice and
champagne.
peas and
Yeah.
what?
They'd say, "What would you like to drink?" I'm like, "Oh, champagne."
Really?
Air Jamaica was the boss.
It doesn't exist, does it, anymore?
No, not
No.
anymore.
What
No.
shame.
Never had a crash either.
Really?
One of the safest airlines.
Do they only go to Jamaica? Or did they go to other
No,
destinations?
they did go to other countries, but we don't have Air Jamaica anymore.
Shame.
We have Virgin and, see what I mean?
Yeah, Virgin.
And British Airways and
which is a real
TUI.
shame. It was a really good airline.
Yeah, it was really good. And
Yeah.
it got fed properly because, no sandwich in the sky for us, but,
We tried Wizz Air. That's a whole
Wizz
other
Air.
story. I went to Romania with Wizz Air. That was interesting. It was like a wing and a prayer, that one. But yeah.
So what do you think, ladies? If you were to go to Jamaica, would you sample the goodness of the Lord? It's a herb.
Yes,
It's a gift.
100%.
I would.
Hello.
Karen?
Of course you must.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
But would you buy Canadian weed?
No.
No.
That just doesn't make any sense.
It really doesn't.
No, someone must be profiting from it. And we think the Canadians probably.
They
yes.
probably will massively profit, but yeah, I don't want their stuff. I want our stuff.
And I think, again, it's just shafting us out of
It is.
making money, isn't it?
And making sure we also benefit from our own product. Reggae music is gone. What's next? The weed's gone.
Yeah.
Shame.
It's a shame. It is a shame.
Yeah. Well, on that note, I would quite like to get high. But not tonight. When I go home.
We'd know if you did now, Kay.
Yeah, you
Your voice
would.
would change.
So if they sent us a sample of the Canadian stuff, would you... Let's send it
no.
back?
Send it back to who?
Whoever sends us a little sample and says, see, our Canadian stuff is good stuff. Do you want to try?
Nah, I'll do
Nah,
I'll
I don't want it.
Canadian.
Thank you.
No, I don't want no greenhouse thing. No. So that was my What in the World. Listeners, if you have any comments or contributions, if you are a ganja master and you know your strains, would love to hear some more of the technical aspect from you. But yeah, let's support our local business.
Absolutely. And let's support Jamaica.
Oh, before we move on, Karen, I must give the listeners our phone number. You can contact us during this live episode on 07598 160 730, or you can message us on our Instagram page at Beautifully Melanated Podcast. So, what are we talking about this week, ladies?
Okay, so we are continuing our series on relationships. So that's parent and child relationships in particular. So last week, we read a few letters, didn't we, about people's personal experiences with their parents. And so we're just going to continue that tonight with another letter. So I shall start by reading that for you. It says, I had a complicated relationship with my mother. Only after learning more about certain aspects of her life after her death did things fall into place. There was a mother-daughter relationship of sorts, but not the relationship I had dreamed of or harboured fantasies about. Feeling as though I wasn't worthy of her love and didn't have a place in her heart was painful for the sensitive and emotional driven person that I am. No matter what I did, good, bad or otherwise, it didn't seem to measure up. Feeling othered within my sib-ship also created a range of complexity. Seeing bad behaviour rewarded and almost celebrated served only to confuse me all the more. The writer goes on to say, only some years after her death did I realise that my intrigue into my early years growing up, my chosen field of work and my natural curiosity to get a better sense of myself were all constant triggers reminding her of a secret pain that she was carrying that I knew nothing about. Looking back, I can see that what, to my mind, was an innocent line of questioning would have made her feel otherwise. It is sad to mourn the relationship that we could have had but didn't. It is even sadder to think that she went to her grave thinking that I may have been judging her for her life choices that have nothing to do with me. And saddest of all is that her weariness prevented her from knowing the truth about my capacity for understanding, support, and unconditional love. I can only hope that she knows it now in her spirit. Oh, that's a letter of regret. That's really sad. Okay, so I'm just going to try and unpick this.
Okay.
So this person, don't know if it was a male or female.
Female.
I guess it was a female. Sounds
Female.
like a female. Right. So she says she had a really difficult relationship with her mum. Obviously, something had happened to her mum. She had kept a secret. I'm guessing it could have been about the way in which she came about. It was obviously very painful for mum, didn't talk about it, was never discussed. So all this person felt was rejection, I guess.
Yeah.
Never bonded, attachment issues. And suppose what she's saying then is that if she had only felt able to be honest with her daughter and share whatever secret she was sort of harboring, maybe their relationship could have been a lot better. I think it's difficult, isn't it? Because as a parent, I think you want to keep as much harmful information away from your children as is physically possible. I always say I never want to give my children a burden heavier than they can bear.
Okay.
So I guess for this mum, she didn't want to sort of, I don't know, divulge too much. Maybe there was some shame, there was some guilt. Could have been all sorts of things, I guess.
Yeah.
But the sad thing is that often when parents think, oh, I'll keep this away from my child, they won't know. I think they do. Children are really sensitive. They always know. So what she thought was the right thing turned out to be the wrong thing because look, they've had such a poor relationship and now this woman's passed. And that can never, ever, ever be repaired.
Yeah.
You never get that time back. Mm-hmm. So, I wonder what that secret was.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder. But she took it to her grave. Often it's something we talk about. I'm taking this to my grave.
People always say that.
Yeah. I don't like secrets. Secrets causes problems.
I don't know,
I agree.
I like surprises. I don't like secrets.
I don't like secrets either.
But what about, as a mother, right? So let's just say, I don't know, what could it be? Something that happened to you.
About someone was raped and you are a child of rape.
Yeah. Do you want to share that with your child?
I would share something. I would definitely share that I wasn't with the father.
Yeah, but
I wouldn't say maybe when they were older. I would tell them. Yeah, I would.
See,
I would.
That I think is down to personal choice.
Not until I'm talking back like a teenager.
Yeah, but even then, saying to your teenage child, "You are the product of rape."
Yeah, I wouldn't say you are a product of rape, but I would say, I was in a situation where I was sexually assaulted. And I found out I was pregnant with you, and I'm so glad I had you. I love you. I love you to the stars and back. But what if this is how you came about?
But what if it affected you to the point that actually didn't love that child?
But that's what this writer she's saying that there was no relationship.
That there wasn't love. Do you see what I mean? So you're saying this as if you've got all your faculties, you have the capacity for love. Yes, this awful thing happened, but you worked through it, and you are grateful that you have this child. Right. That's not this person's experience.
No,
this person has experienced. A sort of abandonment, I suppose, in a way.
Yeah.
Attachment issues, and then mum's gone.
Yeah. She felt as though she wasn't worthy of her mum's love and that her mum didn't have a place in her heart for her.
Absolutely.
So she was obviously feeling the effects of whatever the secret was. And children do. If you're a product of violence, then even mum giving birth and having to be in her body in that way, there is some trauma that's passed on to the child, birth trauma, and it will affect attachment. So I'm with Sarah. I would, when appropriate, especially if there was difficulty attaching, sit my child down, not under 10, maybe not even under 16.
Yeah, exactly.
But I would 16, say something of, it has been difficult because.
But do you know what, though? We are
therapists.
Exactly, right? So we are.
And our children were not of that.
Absolutely. Right. And I think it's easy for us to say, I'm going to throw this out there. Okay, so if you are listening and you're a parent, or even if you're not, what are your views? Would you share something as sensitive as I had my child from a rape attack? Would you share that information with your child? And at what age? If you think you would. The number again to contact us is 07598 160 730. I'll say it again, 07598 160 730. So just want to throw that out there. Would you share that information with your child? What information would you share if you had a secret? What do you think would be appropriate to share, and what would you keep a secret and take to your grave?
I think something would to do with that. If it was to do with myself, that there was nothing, that I don't know. Say something happened to me. I don't know. I wouldn't feel my daughter needed to know about it.
Yeah,
there's no benefit for her knowing.
That's right.
That's what I would take to my grave.
Actually, no. I'm going to disagree.
If it was tearing me apart inside, that'd be different.
If it affects the child,
Yeah.
on some level, you've got to reassure them it's not them. It's
If it
you.
affects- yeah, if it
if
affects
you're
the child.
carrying trauma in your body, let's say you were sexually abused
Yes.
as a child,
Yes.
and you now have had children and you're getting flashbacks and triggers, you're carrying that trauma. It will impact the parent-child relationship. You have got to do something with that trauma. But to leave the child to figure out, is it me? Is it not? My mum doesn't
that's
love
wrong.
me.
That's
That's wrong. That's too much of a
wrong.
burden.
The thing is, though, do you know what, though? I think that when a person is behaving that way towards a child and they're distant, I don't think you have the mental capacity to go to your child and say, look, this is what's going on. I think if you did, you wouldn't actually behave like that.
I think some people aren't aware. I know I had a friend many years ago that she was kind of, well, it wasn't a very close friend, but she would withdraw from her daughter because she had so much stuff going on in her own head that she didn't, but she's almost like she didn't see her.
She didn't know
see what
she was doing it. No, of course not.
Yeah.
Except for the whole world, we could see what she was doing. And I think even to this day, probably she still does it, just withdraws and cuts off and then comes back and withdraws and cuts off. Because she hasn't dealt with the death of her own mother. So she struggles with the connection with her daughter.
Yeah.
We can all see this, but she can't.
But she can't see. That's what I'm
I
saying.
don't think she's aware.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
I think that a lot of people who do behave in this way are completely oblivious. And it takes someone else to say, actually, have you noticed that?
It could take the very child to say, Mom, how comes you don't love me? You seem to love my siblings.
Yeah. Oh, we've heard that many times. haven't we?
Right? So so when the child, if a child says to you, what's going on, you treat them differently. To me, she said she was othered in her sibling group, which confused her even more. It would have impacted her self-esteem and her ideas and thoughts about herself. That's something I think as a parent you can appropriately. And if you don't feel you have the language, then you can have family therapy to work through it.
I'll give you an example.
Okay.
Right? I worked with a family and mother and one daughter had a really difficult relationship because daughter had a very close bond with dad. Now, dad and mum didn't get on.
Uh-oh.
So it was almost as if this child was caught between two of them.
Yeah.
So child would respond to dad, but not to mum. So if mum asked child to do something, child would not do it, basically, not follow instructions. Only if dad gave the go-ahead.
Right.
As a result, it made mum treat child differently.
Yeah.
And even though mum is aware of it, that relationship is severed.
You mean to tell me the two adults couldn't come together and co-parent?
No.
They allowed a child to be in
Yes.
the middle of their drama.
I kid you not.
Dear God.
I kid you not.
They shouldn't have children.
But that's what I'm saying. We can say this because we are therapists and we have an understanding, right? I work with people every day for whom this is not the case.
Well, that's kind of replaced mum and put the child in the pseudo parent role.
That's right. it
So
has.
that it's
Yep.
it's dad and child parenting, and where is mum? Of course, that's going to cause conflict.
Absolutely.
I would be stressed out.
Yeah.
In fact, that couldn't happen in my house. He'd have to go because somebody has to have authority and somebody has to parent. That's not parenting.
I know. And it's really interesting, though, that for some people, just the very thought of going is just more than they can
They will never leave.
comprehend. Do you see what I mean? Because
They're
there's
in that.
layers to this, aren't there? How did
They're
it
stuck
get
in,
to
they
that?
always stay in there forever, those people.
Yeah.
See what I mean? So what
Yeah.
I'm just trying to say is that there are so many complexities.
I think every single relationship seems to have complexities. Everybody I've
they
talked
do.
to
They
in my
do.
entire life has complexities in their relationship. From people I talked to that are 77 to 80 to people I talked to that are 18, you know. Everybody has. No one's relationship. Especially when you get past 40, I feel like everyone I speak to, their relationships have complexities. And it's just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Because life is complex, isn't it?
Sometimes we can simplify it. Sometimes we complicate it.
Yeah, it's
i.e., keeping secrets. I'm gonna have to bang on at that.
Yeah, I agree. That's
Secrets
not right.
destroys families.
Yeah.
I cannot tell you how many funerals I've been to growing up where
People have kept
a child has turned up that belongs to the deceased
Oh, yes.
that nobody knew about.
Oh yeah, yeah, of
Right?
course. Mhm.
Okay. Or a whole nother family, like literally a whole nother family. And the grieving family weren't aware. What was the purpose of that secret? What?
But what if people think that they are protecting their children by not
I think
sharing
it's
the secret?
You're right. It's not aware. It's not. You know. The
You're
person
not aware because
No.
for that parent, they think if I keep this, I am protecting my child. Who's to
remember-
tell them that they're not?
I remember there was
The child. You will see that the child doesn't feel loved and feels unsure Are you not attuned to your child then?
What about lots of people aren't. Lots of people, which is why we're doing this.
Yes,
Seriously,
very
lots
true.
of people are not attuned to their children. Lots of people raise their children. For example, they might say they're fed, they're clothed. I give them, I tell them I love them. Do you spend any time with them? Well, not really, because I've got, this going on, I've got that going on. They don't realize that
children and I'm
time
busy.
is priceless.
Yeah.
Time.
It is so priceless. You're right. No, you're right. I know there was somebody I used to know, and they're they asked at the point the mum was going to pass, and at that point her part they said, can you please tell me who my dad is? I know you've never told me my whole life. And she goes, I know who your dad is. I'm not going to tell you. And she died. Like
No.
And now that person has issues, being a father in their own. It just
I know.
how bitter on your deathbed saying no.
I'm not going to tell you and then die. That funeral, you would get the worst funeral ever.
I'm not going to tell you then.
Wouldn't help. I'll tell you what, that is common. I have come across people who've been in the same situation.
I can imagine
Do not
saying
know
it.
who
Imagine
their birth father is.
Like bed,
Yeah.
saying that, then eyes shut.
Yeah.
So
I'd
then
be
that
so
doesn't
angry.
benefit the parent to keep that secret. Okay, sorry, rephrased. It benefits the parent to keep that secret. It doesn't benefit the child to not know who their dad is or where they come from.
Arguably, this parent might say you don't need to know. The man
You
who's
kinda
raised
need
you
to
loves
know.
you. That's all you need to know.
No.
And then you go on to the people that say, this is your dad, and it's not your dad.
Yeah, 10 years later.
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. No,
Yeah, I've known
Karen,
them as
children
well.
need to know to form their
I agree.
identity.
No, I totally. I'm just playing devil's advocate. You know how I do.
Right.
But I'm agreeing with you. But I'm saying I do know people, more than one person, who does not know who their biological father is.
Me, I don't know who my biological father is. I
But
wouldn't know
that's
if he
not
walked
because
in.
it was withheld. That wasn't was that
Yeah,
withheld?
it's been withheld. Yeah, I have asked my birth mum about my biological
Right.
father. It's a whole nother. I don't think it's good for radio, but yes, yes, I have asked, and it's all gone. The answer was not for radio. Put it that way,
Right.
Yeah, so I don't.
I'm really sorry about
to
that,
hear that,
Sarah.
Sarah. I didn't realise that.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
I mean, but then again, does it affect my life now? Yeah. When I was younger, maybe, but I know, I know where he's from,
Right.
but that's about it.
Do you know
His
why
name?
your birth mother has not chosen to tell you who your birth father is?
Yes, I do know why, but again, it's not for radio. I'll tell you guys
Okay,
off radio because
okay.
it's
Yeah.
expletives.
No, okay.
And-
Okay.
Yeah, definitely not that. Yes.
Then that's about your mum.
Oh, 100%.
And that's not loving. That's not loving. That's not, I want to protect Sarah, so I won't tell her. No, that's about your own ego, your own shame,
That's right.
everything to do with
I think
you.
often it is about people's shame.
Yeah.
I think often it is about.
It's about the rejection.
Okay.
Yeah, rejection. And you asked me to do this, and this is what you think of me. You're asking me to do this about this person. And
But you notice how rich people will have 60 different kids by 60 different mothers or fathers and they don't care?
Boris.
Ain't no shame.
Boris, hasn't he got 3 baby mums or something? Or at least a couple?
Plus the ones he was married to. Yeah.
And there's a newborn as well, isn't
There's
there?
apparently I've heard there's a
Yes,
newborn
from
as well.
somebody else.
Yeah.
Da, da, da.
Yeah.
But how is Boris so likable with these people? He's
Honestly, that
Boris
shall
is
remain
so-
the 8th mystery of the modern world.
so fertile and so gross.
You know he smells. You
Oh
just
yeah,
you know.
Apparently he cycled into work and never has a wash.
Oh.
But yeah, this must be what people love about him. He's very popular with the ladies. Apparently, they think he's great.
I mean, there's lots of celebrities
really like
who,
him.
and there's other women too. They'll fall in love, they get married, they have a child with this one, then they divorce, then they fall in love, they
right,
get married,
yeah,
they have a child with
another
another one. So all your children have different surnames, and they don't have no shame about it. Why are we ashamed?
It's true.
Why are we carrying shame about something like that?
It's crazy.
If people think you're a hoe, well, so be it. Promiscuous, rather. If you're promiscuous, then
Let's keep
take
radio
it.
friendly.
Apologies.
I guess I don't think that it's to do with being rich or poor. I suppose maybe if you've got more money, the children are not affected financially so much. That's the only thing I can think of that makes a slight difference. I don't think it's a financial thing, is it? So you're saying that people who have had multiple children by multiple partners, if they are affluent, they don't mind.
They own it. They're out and loud and proud about it.
That's true.
About who the father is.
but you find that people who are less well-to-do,
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Seem to carry some shame.
I don't know, because I think I know people who've had several children by different fathers,
different men.
that's just life.
I think the men are happy to say I've got 5 baby mums.
Oh,
whatever.
of course.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
but
But
the
shame
women are
to
like,
chat. I suppose.
Yeah.
I guess it's
So say for a woman to say I've got 5 baby fathers makes her sound horrific.
It does. It does.
Most people think, oh, but if a man's got 5 baby mothers, they're like,
But would you? But you're not going to want to date him.
not going to want to date him. But I think
don't
in
I don't know.
in that kind of scale of, I don't know how to say it, Karen, but he's looked upon more in
The
a
thing
better
is-
How many
light.
children has Nick Cannon got?
9?
11.
Or
I think
11.
he's on the 11th now.
How many women have had his children?
Lord knows. I think he's one. He was married to Mariah Carey and they had
That's
twins.
right. They had
And-
twins.
Nick Cannon can support financially all of those,
but not
children.
emotionally.
No, he can't.
No, he can't.
No,
It's
no,
impossible.
No, that is true. So you'll have to then say, am I willing to take the money and not have him physically there then?
Yeah, but I'm saying, how many women have still continued to sleep with him, even though he's having multiple partners and multiple children?
I think Nick Cannon has just got the gift of the gab, I guess. I guess he can just go and just look at people. And that's that.
But then I guess each woman will hope she's the one.
Oh, those kind of women. Oh, dear.
Right?
Oh,
How
dear.
can you be the one? What makes you so special?
But people fall in that kind of guy, because we've all come across that kind of guy that has millions of children, millions of different
Yeah.
women, and women love them, you know, and they think, oh, I'll be the one.
You be the one for what?
I'll be the one to change him. You know, I can have baby number 16 or something.
Okay.
No.
And what about the other 15 children? You think he's not going to still
Sure,
need...
no. My granddad, my birth granddad from Gambia, had 19 children.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, my auntie, my birth mother were named twice, so the same name. Apparently, my auntie was one up on my birth mother. I found that very weird. They had the same name, and they argue about that this day. 19 children with God knows how many women, and I wonder what each of those women thought about my grandfather.
And were there secrets? Were there secrets in the family system?
I don't think they were any secret. I don't think he cared. Like he was.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was he married to any of the mothers?
That I'll have to find out. I'm not sure he was, but he were. You know, there was women that were Polish, got Indian, other African women. Like
He didn't discriminate.
No, he didn't. Oh no, he was inclusive. Kay. He was inclusive. But he was a little man with a massive white afro and beard, right? And he must have been popular. You know.
Okay, I'm going to throw this out there. What if you have children, right, with a man? You had a relationship, you thought it was going to last forever, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, you find out that he has fathered another child, right? But in order to, well, so I guess one train of thought would be, I'm not going to tell my child because actually this might ruin their idea of their dad. It might ruin our relationship. I don't know how this will impact our family.
No.
Do you share?
You have to tell them, because then they're going to end up marrying their siblings or having relations with their siblings. That because they will know. You might meet a sibling you don't know about, and you feel this natural affinity, and you're drawn to them.
Gravity.
You think
Yes.
it's love.
No,
it's actually
yeah.
because you're related.
You got to tell them.
You've got to tell them. No, you bring that child. Come here. Let me see it for myself, and then you can go.
But my
The
daughter,
child is innocent, but you can go.
That's right. My daughter and her brother are kind of the bond those two have is amazing. They're just so attached to each other.
Yeah.
You know, and I would never dream of not telling my daughter that she had a brother. That's just robbing her. I think that's horrible.
Yeah.
You know, you can't do that.
There's no
No.
justification
No.
for that for me.
No way.
No,
Tell them straight.
straight up.
And if there was another child to pop up from the same father, I'd tell both children.
Too right.
Yes.
Too right. Know your
100%.
sibling.
We've decided. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Definitely.
I wonder what people think about that.
I'd like to know. I'd like to know if I had another sibling. I mean, if that's the one thing I'm frustrated, I'd never know.
Yeah,
because my birth
true.
mum would be the kind of person that, again, like in the bed, I'm not telling you, and rolled over and died. It's that kind of
Yeah. So you don't know. You might have siblings you don't know
exactly.
about.
Because my own auntie didn't know I existed, who I'm close to now.
Right,
Never knew I was
okay.
alive, knew it existed.
Yeah.
Because she didn't tell her own sister.
Yeah. There you go. See how secrets
Sorry.
destroys families?
Absolutely. Well, yeah.
And the children always feel it. Even if they
Yeah,
can't
sure.
verbalize it, they feel it. I don't feel there's a justification to have a child you're raising who feels unloved and that they don't matter.
Gotta tell them.
But because of your secret, you're happy for them to spend their lives with that. That's not fair.
I think that goes back to what we were talking about before, which is that often in the Caribbean, it seems as if people kept a lot of secrets. I'm
They
not quite
did.
sure.
Yeah, why?
Where
They
that's come
did,
from.
and especially if they converted to Christianity later on.
Really?
Oh, that's going to the grave. Oh my goodness. They the stories I could tell you, we could fill several podcasts of hilarious. I found them hilarious stories that women have kept. They have kept the most incredible secrets. Like your dad's, John is your dad, and John's brother is also your sister's dad.
Yeah,
what? We had a neighbor who had 8 children, and they were alternate between her 2 partners. One, I think the husband was in England, and every time he came home, he impregnated her. And then when he left, the other
person.
so
Did they know? No one knew, right?
they knew. Well, he's turning up every time he comes from
I
England.
see,
There's
right.
more children that he didn't father.
Right. So didn't he have any questions about that?
He probably had his own family here, Sarah. Let's face
Okay,
it.
right, yeah.
But it's the alternate for me. I'm like, wow.
Wow. That's all children
Every
just
other
looking
year.
different. That is crazy, isn't it? Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
And I tell you, them live like puss and dog now. They cannot agree. Oh my goodness. But yeah, I wouldn't know that. But for a while it was a secret, but then you realize they don't kind of look the same, and they have, you could tell.
Of course you could tell. You could tell when you look at the kids.
So
That's your child. That's
Are
your
you
child.
saying then that the mum should have sat all her children down and said, look,
Yeah, 100%.
this is your dad, and
this
actually,
is- yeah.
this is your
Yeah,
dad.
exactly.
You think he should have done, but would that not
Yes.
have been impactful on her marriage? Whether he was there full time on, maybe he'd gone to England because he was sorting things out and was going to send for her, or
She should have told them.
Because most of your children don't look like you. They're just a bit.
And then you have some really light skin and some really dark skin,
And
and
come back
on.
as she's pregnant again. I don't know.
Yeah.
Not sure about it. I would have told. Yeah.
You have to tell.
Yeah.
No secrets.
There's too many people I've come across that, have been lied to about who their dads are and been told that's your dad. And it's just because mum moved in with a man when she had a baby already.
Right.
And they're going to find out at some point,
yeah.
Yeah.
Or children who goes, I knew I was different.
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's so
that's-
sad when you
yeah,
hear
I
them
knew
say,
I
I
was
know it's
different.
different.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, you are
Different,
different
yeah.
because that ain't your dad. That ain't your dad's.
Yeah. I'm the only one in my family with this particular feature.
yeah,
Yeah. Wonder why.
And they grew up feeling different. That's true.
Yeah.
I hear you, and I even agree with you. I'm just saying, I can imagine in families where that would have really, really disrupted family life. I can see why they would keep it a secret. I get
Definitely.
that. How do you say to your husband then, who's been away in England doing whatever, working really hard so he can send for you guys?
Yeah.
Actually, I've been sleeping with
your brother. Can you imagine that? That would be a real complexity. But guess what? The kids are going to might look like you. 'Cause luckily, it's the same gene pool.
There's how many songs have been sung about jackets, and we know what they mean.
That's true. That's right.
Because a lot of men know they're given children that aren't theirs. Children are named to them. They have their surname that are not their biological children, and they're wearing a jacket.
Yeah.
So the secret isn't so secret, then, is it?
That is true. And I do think you're right. I think when it comes down to it, children need to know who their parents are, who their biological parents are. I completely agree. I'm just throwing it out there because I know that this happens.
Yeah, it does.
Happens a lot.
It does.
Yeah.
And as you can see, the impact from this reader letter.
Absolutely.
That's definitely, you're definitely right. I'm going to read the second letter, ladies.
Okay.
We're coming up to about 15 minutes before the ad break, but we'll read it and we'll start discussing it and we can just...
This is
come
from a
back to
male listener.
A male listener. Okay. Both my parents worked hard, long hours to keep the roof over my siblings and myself's head. Discipline was number one on their agenda. Good education, and we had to study regularly. This is all bullet points, listeners. We all had our regular routines around the home. We were encouraged to look out, help and assist each other. Regular visits to extended family and get-togethers and parties. Rewarded for good behaviour and completed tasks. Breakfast, lunch and dinner at the table with every member. Mum and Dad did their best, sometimes too overprotective. They knew the dangers in the area we lived. My biggest regret was leaving home. I'd be a millionaire had I stayed at home. Mum and Dad restricted us from going out, but eventually we got our freedom. Okay.
Quite a mixed bag.
Yeah, I mean, discipline was number one on their agenda. I'd like to kind of know more about that.
Me too.
Because when I first read that, I thought, okay, and what way is this going? But it didn't go the way I thought it would.
Yeah.
Discipline was number one on their agenda. So I'm thinking that they got beats too much. Good education, we had to study regularly. Now, you know what? Good education is important, but then there's the people that, I don't know, you know, like what's the saying? All work and no play makes Johnny a dull boy.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
That kind of thing. Are they like tied to a desk having to study? I don't know. Regular routines around home, okay. Assisting and looking out for each other, cool. What I like about this also is breakfast, lunch and dinner at the table with every member.
Yeah.
This is what I said about last week. It's important. Dinners. Yeah. When I was a kid, you know, I'm an only child. When I was a kid, it was always about sitting down with my mum and dad, having dinner, or friends coming over for dinner. It was about sitting, dinner, eating, cooking, being together at a table. And I think there's a lot of families that don't ever sit down together, aren't there?
Yeah. Or even have a table. I've heard of that.
Yeah.
I think that's really lovely.
I do as well.
I can relate to the being overprotective. I have been overprotective of both my children. The gender doesn't matter. I've been overprotective because the country has always felt hostile.
This country?
Yeah, this country has always felt hostile to Black people. I never really relaxed and thought they'll be okay. I didn't take it for granted.
Oh, no. Does anyone?
I don't know. If you're born here like Karen is, well, where are you going to go? This is home. But it wasn't home for me. So I always felt quite hypervigilant and anxious about their safety if they left the home. And that's what this listener is saying. Mum and dad restricted us from going out, but eventually we got our freedom. And I don't know what happened for eventually that they had the freedom. But looking back, he's saying I would have been a millionaire had I stayed at home.
Yeah, what's that about?
I don't know.
Money, financially, I'd have been a millionaire had I stayed at home.
I don't know.
I think it's really difficult because I work with children whose parents are sort of heavily involved in the church, for example, and they try to keep their children away from the world. I say that in inverted commas, right? So things like, you know, going to Blue Water with friends might not be permitted.
Right.
Even though they're at an age where they could be doing that, you know, and other, you know, other friends are sort of doing those sorts of things. And it's difficult, right? So the parent is thinking, I'm protecting my child. I don't want them out there and, you know, wandering the streets. Yeah. But I think there's a balance, isn't there?
Yeah. Depends on the age of the child, doesn't it, as well?
Well, say 15, 16.
Oh, 15, 16.
Oh, my goodness. They must be out.
Otherwise, they're going to rebel and go bonkers.
Well, you say that, but then I guess for some parents, they'll say, well, you know, they go to church as a youth group. We do that together.
Okay,
we do
they
lots
might
of,
do. Yeah.
And they subsidize
it,
or substitute it, rather, with other things that they feel are more suited.
Show me a child who's ill-equipped for the world, then.
They'll struggle.
You can't stay so insular and say the child is rounded, because they won't be.
But then that's their personal view, isn't it? And they're not judging it by in the same way that you or I would, because they're using the church as that's their benchmark.
Well, I was that child.
Yeah.
I was that child. It was church, 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 and more church. Everything, every aspect of my being had to revolve around church. It did me no favors, and I wasn't equipped for the world.
But did it work for some people?
No. Everybody broke out, like sore foot, we used to say.
But I may imagine, it's probably the type of church as well. Imagine if you went to like a, I don't know, Pentecostal church or something. Say you'd grown up in a different type of church.
But it happens less, Sarah, in those. So like if you think of like the Church of England, they tend not to do that. It doesn't, it's not, it's a different sort of mindset. I find that it's particular types of churches that often people of colour tend to frequent.
Yeah, you're right.
Right? We tend to do it slightly differently. I have to say, I am somewhat of a tiger mum.
Okay.
I have, with my eldest particularly, I was very, very protective. So I think I don't know, I just wanted to wrap her in cotton wool so nothing could ever happen.
Relatable.
I know, yes.
And I'm the same, my daughter to a point, but at the same time, I want her to be, you know, her friends are very important to her.
Oh, yeah.
So she gets now, her friends are everything to her at this point, her age.
Yeah.
Absolutely everything. Friendships are everything.
But I think I kind of orchestrated a lot of that. So she would go to things that I wanted her to go to. She'd meet the kind of friends that I would like her to meet.
Yeah,
and she would
true.
have like-minded parents.
That's true. I do like that because I like my daughter's friends' parents. We're all similar type of.
That's what I'm saying.
We've kind of weeded out the people that aren't like her. It sounds awful. So bad. You have. Just saying, this is how it is. We have.
Ooh.
We have.
I have to say I've done the same. I can't
There's
even
like one person left that's not quite like us. But everyone works, everyone's driven, everyone's intelligent. You know what I mean? Have a conversation with everybody. Are they my best friends? No. But you know what? I'd be happy for her to go around any of their houses because I've been in their houses and I've seen it. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. So in that is somewhat controlling. It's just
true.
It's just that it's acceptable because
it's a little more expansive as well. It's not just church situations. So what growing up in the church and being so insular taught me was to be incredibly intolerant of other people's perspectives, to be hypercritical, judgmental, and left me with a lot of fear. So
I can understand that.
You got to have more than the church.
I mean, I'm of that opinion. So I think, so for example, my youngest was saying to me, you know, I think we're really liberal, Mum. I think that, you know, as a family, we're quite inclusive. She said, oh my gosh, I was with so-and-so.
Yeah.
And they were so narrow-minded. They were really judgmental. They were really horrible and they said horrible things about other people. So she thinks, actually, this is good. We're much more kind of open-minded. And I think it's really, really important because you're quite right. When they go out into the big wide world and they have to meet other people, go to university, go for interviews and things like that, I think you do need those life skills. But I think for a lot of people, it's finding that balance. And that's what's difficult because what is your benchmark? How do you decide what is appropriate and what's not? And it is very, very personal. Parenting is very, very personal.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, it is actually. And based on your own value system.
Is based on your value system.
But I did break that chain when I had my son. Okay, he asked some questions about the Bible that I couldn't understand. And I thought, this don't even make sense to me. And I'm trying to make it make sense to a 5-year-old. Maybe it's time we leave. Because
is that when you left?
Yeah, that's when I left. Because I thought, this is a ritual. I do it every week. My daughter was 2, so it was just stomp around the building. But he was asking questions from what he was hearing.
Or Adam's rib and all that.
All Jesus' blood. You can taste Jesus' blood in communion. But questions about the Old Testament in particular.
Right.
So the Bible stories. He had lots of intelligent questions. And I'm like, I can't quite sell it to you that God is love because he just killed some kids for laughing at Elijah.
But I think now, does anyone really, now, most people, they might respect the Bible and follow it, but they don't, I think, for people to actually really believe those stories as gospel.
Rather than metaphor.
I'm very concerned about it.
People do take it quite literally. So, all right, look, we are coming from a point of view where I've also been in the church. You've been in the church. You've come out of it.
Yeah.
I'm not practicing, but I do have my own kind of spirituality. Yeah. But we're kind of making light of, I suppose, of people who do take it quite literally. They honestly believe in the Garden of Eden. They believe in the Garden of Eden.
Absolutely. I was told that it was real. And heaven and hell is real. And there'll be hellfire and brimstone if you're lost. Oh my gosh. Yes. Everything was read as literal. It is in the Bible.
I think it sticks to you because I did speak to somebody the other day that said their family were Muslim and that person went through a time when they feel like they didn't, maybe didn't want to be here, but they remembered their dad and their dad said, if you ever try and take your life, you're going to repeat that nightmare again and again and again. They said they're much older now. They said dad's passed away and everything, but that still haunts them.
But people do believe that.
Yeah, come back and back and back and back and back. And she thought, is this, it still haunts her, even though she's not religious.
But that's the thing. It's so powerful because once that's sort
told
of been
as a child,
planted,
I remember reading him the story of the flood, and he was like, "But why? But why did God kill them? But why did He lock the door so that when the rain came and they were crying, they couldn't get in? But why?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I can't even."
but in fairness. Look, but it's okay to say you don't know. If my children ask me a question about something and I don't know, I say I don't know. We can look into this. How about if maybe we can ask someone or maybe we can look it up. It's okay to not know. I don't think you have to know the answer to everything, but I wouldn't discredit something because I didn't know the answer to it.
Well, what is the answer? Why did God kill everybody?
It's true though.
What is the answer?
You've got to be honest with children. My daughter said I think my daughter said a few days ago, did God create me? I said, no, me and your dad created you. You know, let's just be real. Me and your dad created you.
I'm talking to two atheists here, honestly. Like, really?
I'm not an atheist, but you've got to be honest with a child. You know, I'm not going to say, oh, yes, God created you, darling.
It's
me and your dad got together and we created you. That was love, but we did.
You know what? I'm going to have to disagree. Lady. I feel, well, look, somebody else might explain it to say that God gave you the capacity, the ability to create with your partner.
Life.
All right?
Yes.
To make life,
yeah.
right? So it's not just Sarah and partner.
Yes.
Because actually, we don't have the ability to do that. God's given it, right? So that's how somebody else might explain it. That's why I'm saying it's based on your own value systems. It's based on what you believe and what things are important to you. And that's how we raise our children.
I just think you've got to be careful, because I know at her school someone said, smart kids are made by God, kind of thing. It's like, excuse me?
And the rest?
Is that, it's just,
well,
what do you call a smart kid? Or someone, this boy that's good at his times table.
Right.
That's what, so basically anyone that's a maths champ, she think, nothing else going for this, but anyway.
But this is what I mean, Sarah. This is what I grew up with.
But
the puffed up arrarrogance.
But that's
it's insane.
Interpretation. That's not necessarily the Bible itself. We're not going to enter the Bible tonight. But I'm saying it is open to interpretation. People... No, that does not feature in the Bible anyway, I can tell you that. Only smart kids are made by God.
That's right, yes,
Come on.
that's right. Only smart kids. And what's a smart kid? Someone that's a times table whiz.
Right.
Well, somebody told her that.
Somebody did.
You know?
Yeah.
And
probably the boy's mum told him that.
Yeah.
Let's be real.
And people do say things that are really... People are unkind, right? And people will use religion, they'll use the Bible, they'll use the Quran, they'll use whatever, right? To be unkind. I think that that's separate to the religion itself. And the problem with religion is that it has been used, well, every religion has been used to, suppress people, to oppress people, to...
It exploits.
all those things.
Yeah. I'm not saying everybody in church is of that inclination. I will agree with that. But I was just saying from my experience, what it taught me, what it left me with was more questions than answers. The Bible has never really made sense to me. I remember my mom twisting my lips when I would be questioning her nonstop about... But this doesn't make sense. Why would God need the jewelry from people? The whole Old Testament was just wild to me. I could not get with it. Just violence, and God gave me free will. And I said to her, well, my free will, I want to get my ears pierced. And she's like, no, you can't. Why can't I? And you have that jewelry argument. And then she's like, but that's because the Bible says so. And I said, but I thought I had free will. Which is it? Either I have the will or I don't.
Does the Bible say that? You can't have your ears pierced?
Adventists think so, yeah.
Oh, right.
I don't think it actually says that. It doesn't actually say
There is a scripture in the Old Testament that talks about God is going to take all their jewelries and it's offensive to him because the children of Israel were rebelling, basically, blah, blah.
But back in those days, even Egyptian time, people had earrings in and jewellery on. It was the beginning of time.
What did they think Mary looked like? But anywho, so I says to her, well... do I have free will or not? Because you're not selling this to me. This is not making sense, right? And she was like, well, I can't know everything. When you get to heaven, you can ask God. Oh, okay. I said, but you've just told me he's going to kill me if I don't do what he wants.
At that point, you got beat. Is it?
So it's not free will, it's free will or death. I mean, come on.
That's interpretation.
What?
The way that your mum interpreted the Bible.
Right.
Yeah. And it's based on her values and how she felt about it.
Yeah.
And it's the way that she parented you that you have to look at.
True, actually, because she did take it all literal, like everything was literal.
Yeah. So I understand what you're saying. And how did your mum parent, where did her parenting skills come from? I guess you have to question that, don't you?
Well, her father was of the same faith. Her mother wasn't. Her mother was Pentecostal.
The way she
was she was raised in the church as well. So she also was very much indoctrinated.
And that's where that came from.
And that's where that came from. Yeah. But because of the confusion for me, when my son was asking, I literally couldn't make it make sense for him because it never made sense for me.
And so therefore it wasn't right for you to
It wasn't right for me.
See what I mean?
No.
Not that it wouldn't be right for someone else, but for you, it just wasn't right. And I get that.
Yeah.
Guys, you're listening to the Beautifully Melanated podcast. I thought I'd just let you know that.
Yes. What's our number, Sarah? What's our number?
Yep, our number is 07598 160 730. Please feel free to give us a message if you so choose to. We're going to be going for a break in a minute. I hope you guys are enjoying the show.
Yeah.
Anything you ladies want to say before the break?
Yeah, do get in touch with us. Let us know your thoughts and your comments. We love chattering amongst ourselves, but it's even better when we hear from you. So text us, drop us a line. Let us hear your thoughts. And after the break, we'll continue with some more letters. And by the way, just one funny tweet I saw about the Bible. I will end here, I promise. When the debate was going on in America about abortion, and they were like, well, you can't kill your children, and someone goes, why not? God killed his only son. I'm done.
Right. So welcome back to Beautifully Melanated podcast here on Lightning FM. So glad you could join us. So before the break, we were talking about relationships between parents and children. We've read some letters from listeners that we've shared with you. So I think we have another letter, don't we?
We do. We have another 2. So I'm going to read the 3rd letter. It's a long one, but a really good one in terms of how it ends. This is a female. I had a really difficult relationship with my dad growing up. I just feel like he wasn't really a dad to me. Although I would see him here and there, I don't feel like we ever had a relationship. The only childhood conversations I remember having with him was to ask him to buy my school shoes and bag. As a child, it was difficult because I saw TV shows and some of my friends' lives that displayed good paternal relationships, but I always felt like my dad was absent and didn't love me. The first real love I felt from a male was my first boyfriend. He was on the roads and a drug dealer. He always made me feel loved and protected, which was something I'd never felt before. He showed me physical touch and quality time love, which I definitely had not experienced before from a man. He then became my ideology of what love looks like. And from then on, I only wanted to talk to the same type of men because I felt like they could protect me. Also, the fact that I only based love off of physical touch and quality time meant as I grew older, I confused lust for love a lot. If someone spent loads of time with me and we were sexually active, I thought they loved me. But I was completely ignoring the fact that they weren't there for me emotionally and didn't love me in other ways. So it was never truly love. However, it was only last year when the main impact of having an absent father became apparent. I had serious attachment issues. Looking back, I was so desperate for a man to love me that I would do anything to make them stay. This obviously resulted in a lot of heartbreak because I was in relationships or situations where the guys clearly weren't good for me or simply didn't love me back. Some good news though. Over the past year or 2, my relationship with my dad has improved so much. Now I am proud to call him my dad, and I feel the love on both sides in our relationship. He is now such a good role model to me and shows me how a man should love me. If only our relationship was this good before, probably would have saved me from unnecessary heartbreak. Here are the ways he shows his love. Acts of service. Over Christmas, I said I needed to put petrol in my car, and he did it for me. Gifts. He gives birthday presents and housewarming presents. Physical touch. Hugs. Words of affirmation. We say, I love you when coming off the phone, and a few days ago, he told me he is so proud of me. Quality time. We text and call each other a lot more often. We meet up for lunch sometimes when he's in London for uni, and we have lots to talk about.
Oh,
what a letter.
I love
lovely.
that.
That's
I absolutely
really
love that. I think that gives so much hope.
Happy ending, that was.
Do we feel like this is really something we come across a lot in our work, where absent fathers means that the girls do look for love and affection from other men, typically in romantic relationships?
I think, yes, I do think that, but I think it's just, it seems to be, a lot of people seem to look for that.
I was actually going to say that.
A lot of people do.
That's really interesting.
Even with fathers.
I think I was thinking, that's really interesting, because I'm right with you. Even people who've had really happy, healthy, 2-parent households, feel exactly the same. So I can't attribute that necessarily to the fact that she didn't have a healthy relationship in the beginning with her dad. What I would say, though, was that when I did some research around absent fathers and the impact on daughters, I can't remember the statistics right now off the top of my head, but girls who lost their fathers sort of before the age of 5 tend to have more mental health difficulties.
Right. They wouldn't understand it so much. Right? Yes, yeah.
Also, girls tend to internalize their difficulties more at school, whereas a boy would sort of present with more challenging behaviors, typically, not always, typically.
Yeah, that's right.
But girls tend to internalize, so you'd have more issues around self-harm, sort of self-esteem, self-worth. Those sorts of difficulties are more likely, like I say, if a dad is absent from a child's life, daughter's life, from, before the age of 5. So that was really my, that's what the research said generally. When it comes to, yes.
Look at boys, though. I think woman raising a daughter is one thing. Woman raising a son
is another.
It's hard. It must be hard.
Yeah.
Must be hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you mean when you said you think that girls who grew up in 2-parent household have the same experience?
No, so I'm saying, I think if I look at my professional life, my friendship circles, there are many women I'm around who have difficulties either finding a partner or exactly what she said, right? So she mistakes certain things for love, or
that's a common one.
I think that's across the board. I don't think that's
everyone
particular.
who hasn't been through that stage, you think, oh, he really likes me. But you get, because he's so physical and he's there a lot, he's listening to you. That's and
I think that's
common.
See, and also that's really open to interpretation, because you can be in a relationship with somebody, like we talked about a couple of weeks ago, didn't we? Someone can love you, but it's to what extent do they love you, right? So
it's what they know how love is. They've got to know what love is anyway.
And what she's looking for may have just not been met. Not that they didn't, maybe they did. But just not the way that she needed it, and it wasn't enough for her. And I don't think that is specific to someone who hasn't had a healthy bond with a dad. I think that's across the board.
I know plenty of women that have gone for that type of drug dealer type of guy, and they've had dad at home. They've just gone for that unhealthy type.
Dad at home doesn't mean anything, is that?
Dad at home. There's plenty of dads at home that are absolutely rubbish.
Just dead at Trudon.
Yeah. Dad at home that's never there.
Exactly. Are they actually active in their daughters' lives?
We don't know.
Yeah. Are they showing them what love is? Are they saying you are important, you matter, let me show you what you deserve and what you're worth?
But also...
Or are they just there, come in every day and go out every day?
All right, so I work with lots of students who have fathers who are, like I say, present but absent, is what I like to call it.
Right.
Sometimes dads don't know how to be present. Sometimes dads raise their children the way in which they were raised. Dad wasn't very present either. Sometimes they think that if I've put food on the table,
that's right.
You know I love you because I'm here.
That's
got to be enough. And we know that that's not enough, right?
Not in the least.
Not in the least. However, I think that's why this podcast is really, really important, because we're having this conversation. We want to know about dads.
That's right.
How do they interact with their daughters? How do they interact with their sons?
Yeah.
We had a conversation, didn't we, with Lee Lawrence,
we did.
author of his memoir, and he talked about his daughters. So he's got 2 daughters, he's got a son. He was talking about the fact that, obviously his relationship is broken down, but he still wants to.
That's what I'm saying. Because he's more active. I'm thinking sometimes, I think co-parenting, successful co-parenting is a lot better quality and better for the child than living together, not getting on.
But what he was saying was that he had to put in a lot of effort, and it can be hard, especially if you have a difficult relationship with the mum.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
So
I
some
totally agree.
people are willing to really, really push through that and work really, really hard. And
that's
some
fine
people
if
are
mum
not.
will let you. But if mum
Do you know
won't let
what? Considering that 93% of what children learn is nonverbal, it's to see your dad love and respect your mum that sells relationships in the way that we're talking about, the healthy ones.
I think you're
to see a dad respectful, caring, affectionate, loving to the child's mother tells that child that this is what love is. So roadman can't get in. he just couldn't.
True.
Yeah, if that's your example and that's what you know is right, and it's just the done thing, and it's how you know.
I don't think it has to be birth dad at home either.
No, just
I agree.
just dad.
Yeah, because there's people that, you know, I mean, I know even with my ex, my daughter will remember the negative things that my partner, the way he would treat. She still remembers this day.
So does my children. They do,
And she'll remember, she'll also comment on how my partner now and how loving we are together, and hold up a heart sign and stuff like that, and hug us together.
Yeah.
So there's a difference.
Do you know what though? I have a friend, and she had a birth father, obviously, but her mum and dad separated when she was quite young, so she was almost, you'd have to say, raised by her mum's, second husband, stepdad to her, and she said they had a really happy, healthy relationship. He was really good, loved the mum, really, really happy, you know. And she has shocking relationships.
There you go.
She does. It's not that she isn't aware of what it should look like, but she says, you know, my pool is so small. You know, I'm grappling.
Her pool is so small.
In terms like her, so that the dating pool.
Oh, okay.
You know, sorry.
So she's picking the lesser of evils.
Then?
Why do you have to have an evil?
Why pick any of them? They're all rotten.
No, what I'm saying is, it's not that she doesn't know what it's supposed to look like. What she's saying is, she doesn't meet a lot of people who are really coming with what she would want, right? So then she's saying, okay, I'm going to try so-and-so. I'll try this guy. It's not perfect, but I'll work with it. She gets into this relationship and it's awful.
Well, it would be.
She sounds like she's rushing through
exactly, you're going to try, you know. It's not a 2x2 sizes in the same thing and hope one fits.
But then are you saying, all right, so what are you saying then? That we shouldn't give anything a go? It's not like she meets somebody and they are rude at the offset.
Okay.
And they're not usually are they?
Yeah.
It just transpires that actually he's a gift.
See, I don't know, because your spidey senses will tell you.
But we've all been in relationships
where
that
we've
weren't very
overridden
good.
that sense of, okay, he's not really the one for you, but
we've all overridden it.
Yeah,
let's be real,
overridden it.
all of us ladies.
But we know.
Everybody does that at some point.
And we mostly repent at leisure, right?
Yeah, but I'm saying that's not to do with the fact that we don't know what love looks like or what it should feel like. But you go in, you still have these relationships that don't work.
I think I do know people like this. They've had like 4 marriages and all of them been the same kind of person in different marriages, you know, and they've looked around and said, what's going on?
Yeah.
But you've got to look at yourself then. If all of your husbands have run away from you scared because they've all said the same thing, then you've got to look at yourself. And these people don't look at themselves, sadly. So, yeah, it's a bit of a worry.
This week, I don't know if you heard about it in the news, the Aristocrats and Constance Martin and Mark Gordon, her criminal ex, exactly.
The baby.
She's from aristocracy. I don't even know how they met. Very wealthy, has links to the royal family.
Said about her, yeah.
And he was a prison bird.
That's right. Wasn't he done for rape or something?
Yeah. And how these two came together, I'll never know.
But she's from a 2-parent family.
She's from a 2-parent family.
There you go. And she picked the worst of the worst.
And then went on the run and got pregnant, had the baby, no medical help, killed the baby and buried the baby in the forest.
That's right. It's horrible.
And so now the police have tracked them down to Brighton, is where they were hiding out. And really everybody was hoping the baby would be alive and okay, but no.
It's been dead for days.
It had been, his baby had been died for.
Horrible.
They couldn't even tell the gender of the baby.
Exactly.
It's horrible.
She had a father because he was putting out rewards and appealing for information. What kind of, you know, you can be a man and be there, and you can be a real father and active in your life, in your child's life. That's what I'm saying. A 2-parent household doesn't mean anything.
No, it doesn't.
No, that's true. Are we suggesting then that this man, who was an aristocrat, was not a good dad?
No, she was an aristocrat. He wasn't.
So she was.
No,
she
her
comes
father.
Her father.
Oh, her father was an aristocrat. Yes,
Yeah.
she came from an aristocratic family.
Right.
Yeah.
But are we saying that? So was dad a present dad, or we don't know?
Dunno.
We don't know.
We don't know. Okay.
We don't know. I was just saying, you know, dad's being there or not is not the issue. It's how involved dad is in your life.
When he is there.
Yeah, because this letter, now she talks about what's changed. Nothing's changed. He's not back with her mother. What's changed?
The relationship
Exactly.
that she has
He
with her
began
dad
to
now.
invest in her, showed her all the love languages, And now she sees her worth and her value, and she feels loved, as opposed to a fantasy of what love is. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. I agree with that. I suppose the healthier your relationships are with your parents, so for a daughter and her dad, I guess it's the first example you have of a man anyway, isn't it? It's
the first man you fall in love with.
It's the very first example you have of any man at all. I guess whatever he does is very impactful. And the way that he responds to mum is really important.
Yeah.
I remember my husband used to say to my children, that's your mother. You need to listen. That's your mother. You don't speak like that. That's your mum. And I loved when he said that, because he just reinforced what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
We were, in that sense, we were on the same page.
Yeah.
And he said, that is just something I'll never accept. Your children,
I agree.
They need to have the utmost respect for you. And you'd say things like, look at all the things your mum does. Not that they were listening, but it was a really good message for him to send. I think it was really, really important. We need to have solidarity. And I think
too many children are in homes where dad might be swearing at mum, calling her all different names, and mum just accepts it, and it's just horrible.
Or he's disrespectful, or he doesn't meet her needs, or children can see mum is unhappy,
or he's just never there.
Or
he works from home, but he's always in an office or something, and never really there. And when they go to bed, then he comes out of the office, stuff like that.
Yeah. So that doesn't say, I know who my dad is. That's great. We were talking before the break about children who don't know who their dad is. I suppose that's good. You know who your dad is, but you need a little bit more from dad than just his presence.
Especially with all the multiple siblings as well. And I've spoken with 6 siblings, and I've known dad just sitting on the phone in a living room, and all the kids just running circles.
Yeah,
but dad's not really involved in any of them. He's just there.
Yeah.
So what's that then?
And I also think that some of it is to do with, it's generational, right? So I think you do have a generation of fathers who didn't realize that actually, I need to take my son out. Maybe we should go kick a ball about.
That's right.
In the park. They just didn't know that.
No.
Yeah.
And you've got other dads who, their daughters were fine. Mum did it.
Yeah.
Mum did it all. Not because I didn't love her, but I just let mum get on with it. I think now it's a new age, isn't it? I think dads are a bit more present. They kind of understand they need to be a bit more involved.
But no one has a perfect relationship from the start to finish.
No
one in this earth.
No,
it would be nice, but no.
Yeah, no one does, do they?
But from a Freudian perspective, we're going to choose our partners based on who our father was, consciously or unconsciously. It doesn't matter if you choose a different race. You are still going to choose the partner who has the characteristics of your father, because that was your first love object.
I completely, totally agree with that.
Exactly.
I really do.
So this is how important it is that we reflect to our children something of a healthy relationship without words.
So right. You're so right.
And respect yourself. If you are a single mom, I've been a single mom for over 15 years. You're a single mom doesn't mean you have to introduce your child to everybody you date.
Oh, those mums
you don't have to bring people in the house who are going to disrupt your lifestyle, or even force you to choose between them and their child, or need more than the children do. You can still, like your friend you mentioned, who will date down just to be with somebody.
Oh, no.
So, do you know what? I have to rephrase that.
That's just rubbish. No.
That really was what I was trying to say. I didn't say she was dating now. What I'm saying is, she had a really happy, healthy childhood and upbringing, right? And she had a very good example of what a father should be. So her stepdad was very present and active in her life. But she has had unsuccessful relationships.
Okay, so where was dad? And how old was she when stepdad came in? Because there's an attachment rupture straight away.
Definitely.
So that would be why. That's the unhealed bit. Stepdad might be marvelous, but he's not dad. And we don't know at what point the rupture happened.
That's true, but surely, like Sarah said, you can still have a really good example of a dad. It doesn't have to be your biological.
No, but that's more of a model rather than this is part of who I am. I'm part of this person.
So she did have a good relationship with her biological father. They still had contact. It's just that mum wasn't married to him any longer. She married somebody else.
So what happens if you have a bad relationship with your mum and your dad?
Mercy and grace.
I'm trying to think. Do I know anyone who's had a really poor relationship with mum and dad and has gone on to have really happy, healthy, successful relationships?
Well, at the same time? Yeah.
I think I always say self-awareness is key.
Yes.
If you're aware of yourself, you will pick the right person and be like, whoops, no, I know I should like him, but I'm not picking him.
Exactly. This looks a lot like that,
exactly.
and I'm not repeating that.
Nope.
Yeah.
No way.
So yes, it is possible.
Yeah, I think so.
And I have different relationships with my parents, not at the same time over the years. There was a time when I was off from my mum and felt like my dad wasn't there. Certainly didn't teach me about choosing a partner wisely, wasn't invested and active in my life. And I really, really, really would have wanted that. I wanted to be a dad's girl. It didn't happen. And then COVID came and gave me such a gift because now my dad is staying put and we're having a really good relationship and I'm rediscovering
That's nice.
the fun and we laugh together. He cracks me up. He's funny. He's charming. We have great conversations and I love that. And I know if that was the case when I was growing up, my ex wouldn't be even on my radar because I wouldn't choose him. Now that I'm confident I'm proud to be my father's daughter, just like this letter. I'm proud to be my father's daughter. And I would have certainly gone to him and said, I'm thinking of marrying this man. What do you think? But I didn't ask him because I thought, well, you're not there. What could you possibly say? You don't even know me. So yeah, it does impact.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think it does. I think, the way in which we're raised is really impactful, whether we like it or not. But I think the key for me is being reflective.
That's right.
I think as an adult now, even if I do pick a partner who it then transpires that they're not right, I know what to do about it.
Yeah.
That's
that
right. Because
make
everyone
sense?
will at life.
I think you do.
No one just goes say
Yeah.
what's through saying I made all the right choices my entire
No,
life.
exactly. But I think I just know how to. I think I've got a really healthy self-esteem.
Yeah, that's so important.
Yeah.
And I
That's
think
so
that is
important.
probably what fuels my decisions moving forward. And I think my parents gave me that. I felt very loved.
Have you always had a healthy self-esteem though?
I think there was a period of time when I was very young where I would say not so much.
Were you very young and didn't know who you were at that point? Fully?
Yeah, I think that was like a sort of time of self-discovery. You're quite young and you're kind of, and then you sort of compare yourself to your peers.
Oh yeah.
That kind of like through adolescence, I think.
Yep.
But I'd like to think I've blossomed.
Oh, you have. And I tell you what, because I know your girls, you've passed on that self-esteem to them.
so you have.
You really have. And they will choose wonderful men.
I hope so.
Oh, they will, because they will take nothing.
They will take nothing, I tell you.
That is
Right.
right.
Girls, they're like,
Exactly.
You don't take any rubbish.
No, they won't.
You know, you're not. But I think it's good to see. That's what I love also about good single mums is the empowerment that your children see. You know, mum is strong. Mum looks after herself. Mum looks good.
Mum loves herself.
Mum's confident. Mum's doing well with her job. She's excelling. She's got good friends.
Yeah.
All that is amazing.
oh,
That's
really lovely to
So
hear.
I think that's really cool, and I agree with Kay.
Yeah.
your
And I
daughters
have to
as well.
say, you both, it's lovely being around you two because we've got your lovely daughter sat right here. haven't we?
we have.
Who does
Yes.
so much for us, and she is an
Yeah.
absolutely gorgeous young lady.
Yeah.
Yes, she is.
And I'm sure.
Yeah, her year 8 teacher called me in one day for parents evening. She was like, your daughter's a feminist. I said, I know. She reads my books. She goes, her writing is something else. It brings me to tears. And she was sat there with tears in her eyes. I said, I know. She reads my books. But I wanted to empower her. Even without their dad in their life in the way she would have wanted, because she would have loved to be a girl dad too. It just didn't happen for her. It's heartbreaking. But then I couldn't let that be the end of the story.
No, of course not. No way.
Yeah.
Absolutely
Absolutely
never.
not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
No.
So I hope what I've taught her is self-love. It's trust in yourself.
That's right.
Believing that you're capable of overcoming difficulty no matter what life throws at you.
right, you can do
You
it.
are capable.
Absolutely.
And she says I have. So
Oh, that is beautiful. Absolutely. And yes, you have. Yes, you
Yeah.
have. And also for your daughter, Sarah, I know your daughter's a lot younger,
Yeah.
but, just by watching her just
Yeah.
blossom into the,
She's amazing. I'm so
that
proud
she
of
is.
her. She's such a, and I watch with her friend. She's such a confident young girl.
and she so
is.
knows her mind.
She does know mine, and she'll
She's
tell me.
bright and
Yeah, she'll tell me. She's listening to a lot of my conversations, repeatedly, hearing them. But yeah, she is just a strong-willed young girl.
Yeah.
And she knows her stuff. and she speaks her mind, and I've seen nothing seems to get her down right now. You know, so yeah, she will tell her friends what she thinks. Yeah, which is probably for me.
And I remember spending time with you and her in lockdown and just watching her. Just the way she embraces the world and she moves through the world as if she has every right to be here.
Oh, absolutely.
And she takes up her space.
And the thing she says, you know, way beyond he is.
Oh yeah,
she says,
yeah,
you know?
yeah, she does. She's a funny little girl. Some of the things she says.
It's like I was saying to you guys earlier, wasn't I? That my youngest, bless her, she's on the phone to her friends and she said, I don't mean to be rude, but you know, if you're talking to someone, he says, well, I'm not sure what we are, then I think that means you're nothing. What do you mean? He said, he's not sure what we are. He said, bye. Right? I think, he's
She's right.
so funny. She didn't know I was listening. I was just outside the door. I am just cracking up because I just thought it was so funny. I thought, that's right, you go.
There's a girl who's not unsure at 14. She is so sure.
And the funny thing is that we've never really, I suppose I've had more conversations with her, not really around relationships, but just about, I don't know, just kind of growing up kind of topics, more than I did with my eldest. And I think I've tried to do it slightly differently because we had a conversation, I think, a little while ago, and Kay, you said something about, you know, how do our children learn about healthy relationships and what's acceptable, what's not, you know, what their, you know, what the expectations are, and that kind of, if you don't talk to them about it.
Yeah,
that's right.
If you don't expose them to, you know, both my girls went to and still currently attend girls' grammar schools. So they haven't, I suppose, had the opportunity to be around boys, which is quite normal. Quite, you know, I mean, my eldest went to like theatre school and things like that, and there were, you know, boys and girls. And obviously we had family friends who had children, boys and girls. So they have. But I think I've tried to do it slightly differently with my youngest. Yeah. Because I think, like I said, I'm a bit of a tiger mum, and I think I sheltered my eldest a lot. It's my, you know, she's my first, right? I didn't really know. It's a learning curve, isn't it? But I think I've tried to address it slightly differently. And I remember coming to your house, Sarah, once, and we were having a conversation, weren't we? And I remember your daughter, Kay. I just thought, wow, like she was able to have such intelligent, informed conversation. I was like, I was in shock because I just, you know, I just thought, I don't know if my eldest could have a conversation in that way about sort of relationships. Or I think we're talking about love.
It was, yeah.
I thought, oh gosh, maybe I've not handled this well. I mean, she's older now, and you know, we're having lots of conversations because, you know, she's grown up. But it did make me think. And I think, like I say, parenting is such a minefield. There is no rule book. You are literally, you know, it's a stab in the dark, isn't it? Right? Yeah. You're doing your best with the resources you have at the time. Right. So for all these people who've written in, I just want to say that, you know, parents make mistakes, and sometimes, you know, we are parenting from a place of trauma. Yeah. We are parenting from ignorance and stress. And distraction. Distress. Yeah.
We do have one letter left, but before we get into it, just if you're tuning in, you are listening to Beautifully Melanated podcast on lightningradio.net and 90.8 FM. You can contact us on our mobile 07598160730. So we're going into the last letter, and then this will be the end of the parental relationship series. I don't know if we meant it to be a series, but it is. We love a series.
We do indeed.
So, Sarah, would you read for us?
Okay. My relationship with my mum has evolved significantly over the years. As a small child, I was petrified of my mum. This resulted in my being unnaturally good just to stay on her positive side. I was an enemy of pain and avoided it like the plague. As I entered my teen years, the dynamics changed as I became more vocal about my feelings and about being heard. My mum's hands and mouth became best friends, as because I said so was no longer an acceptable answer to me. I was called a feisty B-word and all manner of demeaning words just because I dared to express myself as a young adult. Respectfully, I might add. Needless to say, my mum and I did not get along, And so that you better understand, you might need to know that my mum is Caribbean and very strict. As I entered my 20s, I worked very hard for my independence. At 21, I had a midnight curfew that wasn't working for me. And one night I got home around 12:15 a.m. I found I'd been locked out. And so I left home aged 22. I bought my first house at 24 and I never looked back. This was a turning point in our relationship. My mum finally realised and or accepted that I was an adult and learnt to somewhat respect me and treat me as such. We became more than mother and daughter, and as time went on, we became friends.
Right. So there's more. This new dynamic?
This new dynamic has tested weather and time, and although not always amicable, we get on quite well for the most part. My mum considers me as confident and trusts me implicitly with her finances, a far cry from my younger years. She is now in her 70s and displaying symptoms of forgetfulness, with a tendency to repeat herself. She has not been diagnosed, so I do not want to categorise her as the symptoms may appear she is. This is hard for any child to see in a parent. I have to admit that over the years she has apologised for and tried to mend that which is broken in the past. The problem is I don't think she has forgiven herself for her mistakes. As a result, she keeps on apologising over and over again. As I grow spiritually and work on becoming more emotionally intelligent, I try to empathise with her as much as possible, as I now truly understand that how one is raised has much to do with how one parents, thinks, acts, processes and responds to stresses in one's life. I'm thankful that we overcame this and we're now in a good place in our relationship, and I can only hope it gets better in years to come.
Thanks, Sarah.
That was nice.
What is this? Last week we talked about control. Mums, particularly, who feel the need to control, whether passive aggressively or just aggressively. And the start of this letter is exactly what I mean. So she's saying as a young woman, adolescent, she questioned. We're supposed to question. This is how we discover the world we're in. But she was called the B word, and to say hands and mouth became friends, you get a little slap here and there for questioning and the name calling. And I'm just thinking, one, you can't control your children, even their thoughts. That's problematic. To want to control even what they think and ask.
Oh yeah, that's. I mean, where's that even coming from, Kay?
Yeah.
To want to control someone's thoughts. What is that? What's that about?
Hang on a minute.
wild.
Hold on a minute. Hold on. I'm going to be devil's advocate.
No, I'm going to get you a hoodie saying devil's advocate.
Yeah.
Karen. That's just easier. It's going to happen. That's your Christmas present.
That's your
Goodness,
Christmas
mate,
present.
I'm just going to get
Mother's
it. You
Day,
have to.
maybe.
Yeah, devil's advocate. Yeah.
Do you know why I say that? Because if you think about it, right, let's just say your daughter's mind is preoccupied with sexual relationships. Let's just say, right?
Yeah.
So she is actually no. I'm going to change it. Let's say you have a son,
Okay.
and he's watching a lot of porn. He's right. In that sense, a parent might want to change what their son is looking at. The information that he's gathering. They might want to change his friendship group. What he has access to on his mobile phone, electronic devices, etc., etc. I can understand where or why people would want to control somewhat what their child's thinking. Doesn't
Not
mean that
what
they're
they're
not going to
thinking,
think it.
what they're doing.
Yeah, well, they do. That's the actions. Of
That's
what
the
you
actions,
control.
yeah.
You can't control someone's mind.
No, you can't. But I'm saying parents would like to. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You can't.
No.
But you would like to divert that to something more proactive.
I'd be like, if the porn's getting it, that's a whole other episode. If it's getting obsessive for my son, my
Yes.
metaphorical son,
Now, what
then
is-
that's a deeper
And if it's
problem.
problematic porn, violence,
yes,
children,
yes.
yeah.
We've got to look
what
at
I'm
what
saying
that's
is,
about.
for lots of parents, that will differ, won't it? what you think is problematic and what you think is getting in the way is going to be based on, again, your values and your views.
Because if his dad's also the same and he thinks, yeah, go on, son, then you have that whole culture of people.
Right. So
and that's considered normal.
Right. So for different people, what they think is normal and right is going to be different. It depends on how...
It's true.
You guys are quite liberal, right? You
Yeah.
sort of,
A lot of men will watch that and they won't take it to the grave with them.
Yeah.
But if someone's constantly watching day after day after day, that's a problem.
But I'm saying for some parents, they wouldn't want it at all. Not at all.
Good luck to them, because, you know.
But you know what I mean? I'm
young
saying,
man.
but they're going to want to limit or monitor it. That's what I'm trying to say. So the way in which you parent...
Can't.
But that's good parenting if you even want to say, son, this is probably not healthy for you to consume so much
of it. That's
right.
But what if a parent wanted to say, actually, you know...
They're going to see it.
They might... Not that
They're Christian, they're going to go wild on it.
Yeah, they would.
Secretly.
But some parents would say, that's really inappropriate. I don't think it's the right age. It's this, it's that. But do you understand what I'm trying to say? The way in which you parent... Because your views are based on the fact that you are, again, you're mental health professionals. You are...
Yeah, and I understand a bit about child development. But she's saying here, that's not what she's saying. She said... As I entered my teen years, the dynamics changed as I became more vocal about my feelings and about being heard.
Okay, all right.
You know, it's basic.
All right. But the reason why I'm saying that is because I have students, they sit in my chair and they say, this is happening for me.
Right.
When I speak to the parent, it's a different perception. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Because it is perception.
Yeah.
It's her idea. Mum and dad's idea, and sometimes they conflict.
Yeah, but if mum is boxing across your face, which is what she's saying happened, her hand and my mouth became best friends. That's not perception.
All right, okay.
You're getting licked.
That's slightly different. Okay,
yeah.
But that's to do with physical punishment.
Yeah,
right? And we're not.
And that's because she challenged and questioned things.
Because sometimes parents don't know, and I'm not agreeing with mum. I'm not saying this is right. I'm just unpicking it, right?
Yeah.
So let's just say, my children, your children. They're taught to be leaders, right?
Yeah.
They go to good schools, they're educated.
Yeah.
So they're not brought up to kind of be followers, I wouldn't say.
Yeah,
no,
right.
I wouldn't say so.
I'm not raising my daughter so that she can work. And I'm not disrespecting anyone who works in a factory. I'm not saying that. But do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You want more for
they
her.
want to aspire to do whatever they want, right?
Yeah.
So the more free, the more sort of open-minded, the more intelligent they are, the more articulate they are, the more they're going to question things. And so at school, there's a conflict because we're raising these children to be really independent-minded, but yet they've still got to follow our rules. Why? Because we said so.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm saying that is the conflict. And when you're parenting, when you're raising children, you are constantly contradicting really what you're saying. So this mum sounds like she was just struggling with that.
Yeah.
I want you to be forward thinking, to be intelligent, to be bright and all those things, but don't ask.
But don't question me.
That's right. And we need to learn as parents, how do we allow our children to do that? How do we allow our children to be intelligent, articulate and ask questions and still follow instructions to be respectful?
I have the answer. I said to my children, you can say whatever you like to me, as long as you say it respectfully.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have disrespect. You're not going to call me names and you're going to shout in my face and you're not going to talk to me like I'm not your mother. Outside of that, say what's on your mind. Even come to me and say, Mom, I feel like I'm ready to have sex. Are you at the legal age? Yeah. Okay, let's talk about safe sex. Let's talk about healthy sex. I'd rather you didn't. But let's talk about it, because crabs, not fun. So we talk about, for me, they can tell me anything.
But you're also assuming that your children will have the emotional intelligence to come and tell you that.
They did.
But also because I think when you talk to your children from day dot, and I talk to my daughter, constantly, and she talks back to me and asks me questions constantly, the relationship's been established where she knows she can come and she can question me, and I will always tell her the truth as far as I can help with it.
This listener says I was petrified of my mom. Come on. We're raising our children in fear.
And I think, right, so I'm going to take it away from that particular person because I get what she's saying, and I'm going to come back to it in a second.
Some people say they like that. Yeah. They said your children need to be a bit scared of you. And I remember people say that.
Well,
I do not understand that at all, but people do say that, don't they?
But a healthy... When I was growing up, I wasn't I probably was, to be fair. But not just that. It was just that not wanting to disappoint. Like, that would really...
You did mention that. You said about that. That's what you said about,
Right. So
Mind
that's
about
the
that.
first thing. And also, like, in a way, I think we're kind of losing a handle on some of our children in the sense that there really is little deterrent. The most thing you can do now
That's
is
right.
take away their phone. Because really, we've got nothing to bargain with. And I'm not saying that physical punishment is the way. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that it's a tricky time, because what you say, and you said your children can talk to you about anything as long as they're respectful.
Yeah.
Now that is discretionary in itself. Some children don't know what respectful is to a parent. So, for example, my youngest might say something to me. I think it's disrespectful,
Yeah.
but she won't know that. I've got to set that boundary.
Yeah,
and it
absolutely.
constantly
Yeah.
shifts. It
Yeah.
shifts constantly, and I'm having to go, whoa, just take that back down.
Yeah,
It
it's true.
changes.
Yes.
I have
Yeah.
to set that bar. I have to tell her what that. She's not going to know that.
Exactly.
And
That's
also,
right.
lots of children won't have the emotional intelligence to come and say, actually, Mum, I'm feeling like this. What often happens is it comes out in, rah!
Well, they won't if they're frightened of you. They won't say anything to
Especially
you.
boys.
Or they may not
Trash the
say
house.
anything at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
They internalise it and then, oh dear.
And
we
And
know
then
what
act
happens
it
then,
out
don't
in
we?
school and end up in our office.
Yes, that's right.
As one example.
Yeah.
Do we still have the parenting strategy of sending our children to Jamaica or Nigeria or anywhere in the Caribbean or Africa we're from when they can't behave here and
That's
we can't put our
really
hands on
frowned
them?
upon. That's very,
Really?
yeah.
Well, I wouldn't do it because
That's really-
attachment, but
That's what I'm saying. See, there's all that. I mean, I work with.
I'll go with them, send them
children.
along.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
many children were sent to Jamaica for periods of time to behave and learn the hard life and discipline.
But now would
Now
we
that
still
would-
would we
oh,
still
that would be-
say that's
Absolutely not.
Early help will get involved now, wouldn't
okay?
they?
Well,
Yes.
honestly,
Yeah.
social services. I'm telling you.
But fairness, it didn't work out because mostly they love Jamaica and didn't want to leave. So that didn't quite work out as a punishment.
I would have. Loved it. But yeah, let me go back to your letter.
You mean the second bit or the first bit?
I think the point I was trying to make, I think I've gone sort of a bit long-winded way of saying it, but I think that parent, sometimes they just don't know what to do for being right.
Would you lock your 21-year-old daughter out of the house because she's not in at the time you said to be in? What about the child safety?
Yeah, it's awful.
You're literally locking
is she?
21. And she said coming at midnight. She said I came in at 15:15 and she was locked out.
Did she leave her out all night?
I don't know. She didn't say, but that's insane.
I wouldn't do that. But I guess to this parent, she's saying, if you can't hear, you
Yeah, go feel. Except other people might feel too. This is just not safe. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. I wouldn't do that. But I
How
think,
do you sleep knowing your daughter is outside?
terrible.
Karen, your daughter is this age. You would lock her out.
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Did you not hear I'm a tiger mum? I would never do that. What? But
Even if you want to make a point, does it have to be so drastic?
That's right.
Why you can't let her in the house and have a conversation?
I think people just don't know how to do that.
They don't know how to.
That's
You're
the
right,
truth.
you're right, they don't have a
just don't
clue.
know how to do that. They don't know how to have conversations and just say, look, I've asked you not to do, this mum thinks she's setting a consequence. She's saying, I told you to be in at this time. If you're not, this is the consequence. You failed to do that. And therefore, right? The thing is, I work with so many parents. We have so many conversations about giving effective instructions. Let your children know this is the expectation, and this is the sanction. So, and was this discussed beforehand? Probably not. She'd have probably got in at midnight if she knew she'd be locked outside.
True.
So we don't discuss these things with our children before the time. We just lose our minds and then make rash decisions.
Yeah.
So I think parents often parent from a place of fear.
Not knowing.
They just don't know.
It also depends, obviously, we all said how you were parented. I know my adoptive parents, they talked a lot to me about life. They always have done. So that's why I'm so, I think, vocal with my daughter about life as well. Rightly or wrongly, they always spoke to me. And I know I could go to them. Whereas my birth mother, oh my gosh, if she'd raised me, I wouldn't be going to her. I'll be raising hell with her, maybe. We'd be sitting in a prison cell with her.
Yeah.
Us both raising hell
Because
together.
that's the capacity she
We
has.
could not. There was no way that woman could have sat and really, unpick things with me because she didn't have that mental
just didn't have
capacity
it.
to do it.
That's what I'm saying.
Therefore, I'd have been
Yeah.
exactly the same as her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
Yeah, I can see. Coming from two different worlds, I can see.
And a 21-year-old is an adult, let's face it. if she don't want to come in at midnight. Just be glad she's coming in.
Isn't it? Yeah, but I was moved out of my house when
And
I
you're
was
not
18.
reading about her in news, not News of
right.
the World anymore, but you're not reading about her on a
You'd be
headline.
surprised. Like some people would say, no, this is my house. That's my room.
That's what I was told. But see, Jamaica's different because if you had locked me out, I had so many neighbours I could walk to and
You
get
could have
in
gone somewhere
and
else,
go
yeah, but
sleep. You
not-
can let me out.
Was this person raised here in
Yes.
this country? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't do that.
No, it's
No,
would I.
I wouldn't. But
couldn't
then I
imagine
know
ever,
I know
never.
different. You'd be surprised. Honestly, so, I talked to so many parents who
They were locked out themselves, probably.
like-
on.
Yeah.
And then Granny locked me out.
Yeah.
And Great Granny locked her Granny out.
Yes.
Oh,
and that's the control. That's
Yeah.
why do you need to have such control?
That's about them, isn't it?
Yeah.
Feel about themselves.
21. And you still feel the need to control to that extent. That's about you.
Yeah, that is definitely about you.
that's really interesting. I'm just trying to think of who I know who've got 21-year-old daughters.
Apart from you,
Yeah.
control them at 21. But normally, by the time they get to 18, like, okay, I'll give up.
Oh my gosh. My son made me give up at 17 because he wasn't even trying to play that game. So I learned.
By 21, at that point, most parents be like, okay, I've done all I can do. I'll support you. They wouldn't like, I'll lock you out at this
You'll
21.
be surprised. You'll be
Truly?
surprised. Yeah. If I think about the people I know with daughters,
Yeah.
they're a little bit. They might say, okay, you can have a glass of this now.
At 21.
That's hilarious.
I kid you not. I kid
What, they're not
you
picking them
not.
out of the gutter, blackout drunk. You can have a glass.
I kid you not.
But then they're just going to go with their friends and get absolutely
Hammered.
hammered. Yeah, so...
Well, only if, so say, for example, if they're at uni,
Yeah.
we don't know what they're doing. Do
That's
we,
right.
really? We've just got to,
Yeah.
but I'm saying, I know families who that could not happen under their roof.
No, not blackout drunk. I'm saying, but if they have more than one glass of wine at a party or something, geez.
Okay, yeah.
Unless it's a Jehovah's Witness party or something. Right.
But you'll be surprised. For some people, even though they're 21,
Yeah.
they wouldn't just be able to do whatever they want. That just
Yet
wouldn't be
I
allowed.
was married at 21.
Guy's young.
I was 21 when I got married. So I'm okay to get married, but I can't have.
But that's your.
Anything
But
to
then
drink.
I suppose that's in your household, isn't it?
What I'm saying is they were okay with it because purity culture. You're a Christian, get married, don't fornicate, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
But I had no sense at I thought I was smart at 21. I had no sense of who I was. I had no business getting married at 21.
Yeah. And I get that 21.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's what I'm saying. So for some families, 21. Yes, it's an adult by law, but no, you're not an adult because you have no idea. You got no clue.
Well, yeah, you haven't, but you have. It depends on the person. I think it, but also like if it's, you'd never lock. I don't know. I would never lock my daughter out. Never, ever, 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 ever. Not
Never.
unless she was some kind of murderer or something.
Look, I'm just glad she gets
You know.
home safe.
Yeah,
listen,
exactly.
the amount of violence against women and girls,
Yeah, exactly. I just
in
want
the
us to be
world.
safe.
I just want to know you're home.
That's right. And if I can pick you up, I will. myself.
Exactly. No, that I will. I'll jump in the
as
car
long
and come
as
and
I can
get you.
drive. Yeah, I would too.
Yeah,
I would too.
I'm not going to punish you for staying
No,
out
no.
late.
I mean, because the thing is, I'm quite relaxed in that sense, right? So my eldest is 21, and she's at uni.
Yeah, you
yeah,
don't
yeah,
know.
exactly.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Sometimes I call in the morning, she's like, clearly
yeah,
having been under the influence. What am I going to do about it?
exactly.
Yeah, nothing,
As long
yeah.
as she's safe, she's happy.
That's
But
right,
I'm really lucky. She does really well. She is at uni and she's doing her thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if she's gone out on a Friday night, I've got no
Yeah, you don't
reason
need to worry about her. She's
not
cool.
at all.
Exactly.
That's to me, that's normal.
Yeah.
But I'm saying for other people, it depends on what their standards are. It depends what their family life is like, what their values, all that sort of stuff. It's
true.
It's an absolute minefield. It's so difficult.
But it don't matter what their values was. I didn't stick to it. I was at uni and I was boarding and I was independent and I had a great time. And they could think whatever they liked about what I was doing there. They could have the narrative that I was going to classes and going to the devotional blog. I don't care. I had
Kissing
a
the
great
Bible
time.
and-
Yeah, exactly.
night.
Sleeping
But
Bible
you
under
were
my pillow.
rebellious though, weren't you?
Very rebellious. You say X, I said Y just because.
Just
That's
because,
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Know that
and I
life.
think that's the thing. I think I would like to be able to raise my children in a way that they felt that they could question me.
That's right.
In a way,
Yeah.
we'd have to discuss what respectful
Yeah,
is,
Yeah.
what that means to me,
Yeah.
so that we're all on the same page. Because I kid you not, I guarantee they'll have a different idea of what that is than what I do.
Yeah, of course.
Right. And I would like to think that, I'm quite relaxed, quite lenient, but I imagine there are going to be some things that they won't want to share with me.
Absolutely.
Oh, no, yeah, of
I know.
course. Oh my God.
Absolutely.
I don't share everything with my parents.
No.
Lord.
Yeah.
My mother will not still be standing.
I pretty much say they don't know who I am because if they
would-
knew the other
she would
part
be
of
like,
me, outside of the church, they'll be absolutely horrified, as it should be, because you have to live your life. You don't come here to live for your parents. Your parents don't own you. I think that's one thing my mum has really struggled with, is the ownership.
Yeah,
I own you.
Yeah, people do find that really difficult. Yeah,
I don't feel like I own my children.
And there are some cultures who actually believe that the children are an extension of themselves. So you hear lots of parents say, "Oh, you know, my son's a doctor."
And dad's a doctor too, and all doctors.
Yeah, but they, like Jado says, Mum, you live precariously through me. Can you stop doing that, please? You need to get life.
What, you live vicariously through her? I did when my daughter was growing up a little bit, because I never had that freedom that I gave her.
Exactly.
So I did a little.
And you see that.
Yeah.
So, I think a lot of it is just about your own values and how, but I just think raising children is it's such a personal journey, isn't it?
Yeah. As I said, it's a mirror to yourself. Having a child is a mirror to yourself.
Absolutely. And we're coming from trauma. Let's not forget that, because there was a time when we didn't own our children. They belonged to the slave owners. And there was a time when we had to not form attachments to them because they would have been sold off or raped or beaten or murdered in front of us.
Do you think
that's the legacy of slave. Yeah, where we still see your children as little slaves. We own you. We gave you life. We've kept you safe. Now you owe me back. Rather than, phew, you've made it to adulthood. Well done. Go explore the world. I'm always going to be here.
I'll always be there for you.
Yeah. That's a whole different take from what I grew up with.
And also other cultures, like I know some Chinese families feel that their children's accolades belong to them.
Yeah. But then China as a country has been very oppressed. I mean, I don't know that much about Chinese history, but I know they've been squashed down and corrupted by various politicians, haven't they, in China? I mean, since the beginning of time, even when it was geishas and things, to serve men and, that Chinese culture to me is fascinating. I'd love to hear if any listeners are from a Chinese heritage, because I find it fascinating. They have just been...
And some African cultures are like that.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. But a lot of the Caribbean is still like that, where what your children achieve is representative of you.
Absolutely.
And how you've done as a parent.
Yeah, and they say, you've done such a great job.
Oh, that's right. He's become a doctor.
You've traumatized your children. Look at them.
Become a doctor, but he's sniffing like 10 grams of coke every week. And wondering why he can't make a relationship last and ending up in our office again. So he's done great.
Exactly.
So cynical. I'm
so cynical. Look, I took having my son rebel for me to learn that children are a gift that you get for a short time. And his rebellion really got to me because, it was mirror. I was rebellious, except he had much more agency to rebel.
Sure.
But then I thought, it just came to a friend of mine said, look, you get them for 18 years if you're lucky. And
what was he rebelling against?
Me. I was too, he says I was over, what's the word? Overprotective and kind of just closing in his world and making it really small. And he wanted to go drinking
But were you doing that because you wanted to protect him?
And he was at a stage of his football career where, it was either you choose the dry road and you keep your career or you...
I know about this.
Yeah, the lifestyle. You had to make a choice.
Would you change that at all?
No. But you know what it was? Because I didn't want him to look back and say, you should have told me. I was still a child. You should have told me. I would have made better decisions. Now he looks back and says, I messed up. You told me this was going to happen. You tried to help me to choose and I didn't. It's all on me. That's what I wanted.
And I think that's really interesting because I wonder what his letter would have been like to you at that stage. Imagine the letter that he would have written at that stage when he felt you were trying to control him.
Yeah. It would be full of hatred and death, probably.
And now, think about how different that letter would. That's what I'm saying.
The Mother's Day cards tell the
But do you see what I mean? So when we think that we are, being overprotective and things, we're doing it out of a place of love. And sometimes we get it wrong.
Sometimes I got it wrong with him often, and we're working through it. We've mostly worked through it, but there's still bits of him where you can see that, he still needs to say some things to me. Sure. And I'm ready to hear it. But he doesn't feel like a relationship would survive it if he said it. It would. but he thinks I don't want to risk it, so I'm not going to say it.
This is so interesting. Honestly, we could talk for hours, but I think we've come to the end of our show again this evening.
We are coming to the end, maybe a couple of minutes before we go off air. So final words time.
Oh, I think the same thing I say every week. Just communicate with your children. Just communication in general. You know, communication is key. No one's going to get it perfect. No one's going to get it 100% all the time. Things are going to go wrong. But yeah, communication is key. That's my final thoughts.
Mine is your children do not belong to you. They belong to themselves. You've brought them into the world, yes, but they're here for a purpose. It's not to make you look good and it's not to serve you. It's to discover why they were here and to change the world in whatever way they are going to change the world. Your job, facilitate, support, love, encourage, and not to transfer all of your fantasies and projections onto them. It's not about you.
That's a really nice thing to end on. Last thing I'd like to say is be reflective, parents. Be really reflective. Think about why you said what you said. Talk to your children, as Sarah says, and always know that you can do better. All right?
Yes.
None of us are perfect. We do the best we can with the resources that we have, but always do your best.
Okay, so we'd love to hear from you between now and next week. Please email beautifullymelanatedpodcast@gmail.com. Contact us on our Instagram page @beautifullymelanated, on YouTube at the same name. And also we now have a number, as we've said several times. It's also on the Instagram link. We look forward to joining you again next week. Take very good care of yourselves. Bye for now.
Beautifully.